All right, this is a recap on how to make a looping complex symbol. So we have a scene right here. I just threw some poorly drawn blades of grass and I have a little grassy hill. The hill is on locked layer number 1 and the so-called grass is going to be on layer 2. So our goal here is if I'm creating a scene, then I don't want to have to animate every single blade of grass, every single leaf on the tree to move over and over and over. You have enough to worry about without that. So I'm trying to get a looping motion that basically does it by itself by animating it once. So this is what we're going to be making. We're going to start out pretty simple. So create your scene, whether it's an ocean scene with seaweed, or if you have a person blinking, a flag waving, whatever you're doing, some kind of repetitive motion where the object itself is not going to be leaving the screen. Once you have it all drawn, you're going to select your object. If you do use the selection tool to click and drag, make sure that everything else behind it, like my grass right here, is locked so you don't select more than one thing. And then you're going to right click and you need to select convert to symbol, or you can hit F8 and you're going to see this right here. You want movie clip, name it whatever you want to, blade of grass, whatever. And then for mine personally, I'm going to put my registration mark down here just because I want to anchor the bottom of my grass. But for most of your projects, just leave it how it is. Go ahead and click OK. And then when you go to your library, you're going to see a list of your symbols that you have made. Now, mine looks like there's nothing there, but it's simply just showing the background because it's kind of small compared to my really large stage. So if you have it selected, double click the little thumbnail picture. And now we're actually in symbol editing mode. You know we're in symbol editing mode because up here it has scene 1. That's my actual scene with the grass and everything. If you double click here, now it says scene 1 and then it has my grass. I just did some gibberish. Alright, so here's my little blade of grass or your flower, your tree, your whatever you're animating. Down here we're going to make an animated loop using a few keyframes, which you enter by hitting F6. And then this purple right here is our classic tween. So you're going to start out with one keyframe. Make sure when you click on this, let's go ahead and grab our free transform tool. Whenever you click on this, make sure you know where you want your pivot point, that little white circle. So if I have my white circle in the middle and I rotate this, both sides of this blade of grass are going to go around in circles, like I'm twirling a baton or something. I don't want that. I want the bottom to stay stationary. That's my pivot point. So whenever I lean the grass left and right, the bottom is going to stay where it's supposed to stay. That plus sign at the bottom is that registration mark. So I'm going to come over here, hit F6 on our keyboard. With my free transform tool, I came over here in between the two black boxes. Those two lines mean that you can skew or distort. So if you click and drag it this way, it made the whole box shift this way. Come over here, and just randomly did it at 1 second intervals. Hit F6, and then I come over here again, still with the free transform tool, and then I skewed it the other direction. Now your very last keyframe, that one's going to be different. You do not need to just go ahead and hit F6 on that. So if you did that, go ahead and get rid of it. Right click, remove frame. What we need to do here is the very beginning needs to match the very end. So that way we don't have a loop and then it jerks back to the first frame. It needs to flow in a full circle so it looks like a continuous motion that doesn't stop or it doesn't look strange. So I'm going to come up here to my very first frame, click it, right click, and then I'm going to go to copy frames. Click that. You're not going to have anything in here yet. This is going to be your last dot. The rest of it's going to be empty. Come down however far you want to, select your frame, right click, and then you're going to select paste frames. That will automatically fill in the frames and put your keyframe. That's going to match your very first one. So now, this is basically this last stretch here is going to return you back to your beginning position so that whenever you loop around, it's seamless and your motion starts again. So now that we have our F6 keyframes and you have made your little adjustments, you could come over here to the corner, you could rotate it, you can make it taller, shorter, make it wider, narrow, whatever you want to do. So somewhere in here, in between your keyframes, you need to right click, and then you're going to, yours is going to say create classic tween. Once you click that, it's going to be purple. So if it is gold or some other color, you know that you accidentally clicked the wrong thing. If you did, that's fine. Right click and then come up here, and then let's say you clicked shape tween by accident or motion tween, it'll say remove, like this one, just remove it. And then come back in here, create classic tween. You're going to do that in each one of these, right click classic tween, right click classic tween. That way, you're going to have a fluid motion between all of your keyframes. Now, if you're wanting to see what this is going to look like, this little box right here at the arrow, click that. That's how you're going to loop. And click and drag these handles because I want to see the whole thing. And then hit play. All right, once you're done with that, get rid of your loop. Go ahead and pause it. And right now, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. Now, tweening is a little interesting because that's the computer trying to guess or assume what you're trying to do, right? Sometimes your thinking is different from the computer's. So sometimes this blade of grass would just randomly like drift off to the side. Maybe it looked kind of weird. I didn't like how it looked, whatever. If that's the case, right click on all these, remove the tween, and then select all of your frames, right click, remove frames, and then just start over. It won't take you that long. Click F6, click F6, click F6, make your changes, copy your first and last frames, add your tweening. So if you're having issues, just start over. Most of the time that tends to help. So once you have all that stuff done and it's animated how you like it to be animated, we're still in the editing mode. So we need to go back to scene 1, so click on that at the top. And we're back at our scene. Now, you need to make sure down here in your layer 1 and 2, I kind of just went further out than my animation lasts. My grass is animated for about 3.5 seconds-ish. So I came out here, I highlighted down like this, and then I hit F5 just to put frames in here. Because if our video, this is our main timeline, if my video lasts for 1 frame, but my grass is animated for longer than that, you're not going to see it because it doesn't have room to play. It's just going to sit there at the first frame. So make sure you come over here, highlight down for how many layers you have, and then hit F5. All right, so if I come over here, I'm not going to see anything. Don't worry, it's not that your symbol didn't work, but these act a little bit differently. You can't get a live preview just in this stage view where you're editing. So each one of these blades of grass is built in to the symbol right here in the library. It has its motion built in without me having to actually edit every single blade of grass in this main timeline right here. So if I actually want to see it, then you can go to Control Test or just hit Control Enter on your keyboard. It'll load, and then now I can look to see how it actually looks. A couple of quick things to keep in mind. My scene are blades of grass that are supposedly blowing in the wind. They're a cartoon, but you get the hint. So if I have a blade of grass that's flipped the opposite way and going the opposite direction from these blades of grass, it's going to look really weird. That doesn't happen in nature unless you're going for that specific effect. So keep that in mind as you place your instances. Speaking of instances, I only made 1 blade of grass. I can come over here. This is my little grass right here. And I can click and drag as many of these as I want to. They're all going to do the same thing because it's built into the symbol, which is awesome. Now, maybe I'm like, well, I don't want every single blade of grass to look exactly the same. That's fine. You can come down here, you can apply a filter, and you can also mess around with color effects. Maybe you want to change the brightness or whatever. You can tint it a little warmer, a little cooler. And even your display, if you layer it or multiply, you can kind of get some cool effects whenever you overlap it with other shapes. So let me do that really quick and I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you how to flip it as well if you need to. Modify, transform, and then flip horizontal. Just for fun, I'm going to come over here to my properties panel, display, and multiply. So this is going to multiply the colors as they overlap. I'm going to rotate this guy a little bit too. I just really want to emphasize how that's going to look. All right, so remember I flipped him the other way and then I changed the colors on 2 of them. And I did that in my properties panel. Control Enter. Now you can kind of see that it multiplies the color whenever different layers are overlapped. So that's a kind of cool effect. You could do that with ocean waves, seaweed, anything like that, and it'd be kind of cool. Again, we wouldn't want this random blade of grass going the opposite way. If you want to, this is all the same blade of grass, because remember we have this same symbol right here. If you wanted to create another layer, I can make another blade of grass that's shaped a little differently, has a little bit of a different color, and then I can come in here, right click, convert to symbol, do this whole process all over again. Maybe in my list of symbols, I could have grass 1, grass 2, grass 3, and grass 4. Now clicking and dragging from my library, now I have a couple of varieties and different options. And the fact that they're going to move a little differently and they look different is going to make it look less staged and unnatural compared to my grass right here. So in a nutshell, that is how you work on looping symbols. You create your shape, right click, convert it to a symbol. Once you do that, go into symbol editing mode by double clicking the symbol, animate it using classic tweens, go back to your scene, and then you can add as many as you want to simply by clicking and dragging the symbol from the library and creating more instances. All right, that about does it. Good luck.